What is up, everybody? We are live. We are blacking out the system. We are saying, let's do this. We are coming together. What is up, everybody? We got Blackout the System Phase 2 coming up soon. We are going to be pushing that back. We are going to be speaking out. Because the only way that we can actually win, the only way that we can actually defeat this is by us coming together. And we have to come together. Because it's not left versus right. It is up versus down. And we have to understand that they only divide us so they can keep making more money. That's what this is all about. That's why we say greed is the disease. Everything else is just a symptom, because if their greed wasn't so prevalent, they wouldn't be screwing over the rest of us just to try to make more money, because that's all that's happening. They've eroded the power or the structures in our society just so they can make more money. The first thing we look at, well, first off, I'll go through the problem. We're going to talk about the issues in America, why we all feel the same way, but we have nothing to do about it. Thank you, Squeaky. Those early follows, likes, and reposts are huge. Really appreciate it. So we're going to be talking about the issue in America. Why do we all feel the same way, but none of us have the actual solution? Because they basically told us lies to divide us. So basically, we're going to go through the problem. We're going to talk about the villains, who the they is that I'm speaking of, the conditions that keep it this way, because that's really effing important too, because we understand why it would happen for a little bit, but why does it stay this way? And then finally, what can we do to fix it? So that's what we're going to be going over today. The problem, the cause, why it remains this way, and then the solution. Well, I appreciate that, user, because honestly, what we are about to go through here, none of it is opinion whatsoever. It is literally all just factual information that they keep us out of time, money, and energy to even think about, let alone do anything about. And that's one of the first things that they do that keep us this way. But let me go ahead and we'll start with the problem. Well, the problem's kind of simple. Regular, everyday Americans don't have any money. We need money. Not because money buys happiness, not because we're greedy, but because money buys housing. Because money buys health care. Because money puts food on your damn table. That's why we need it. And we go ahead and we ask, hey, boss, we need we need a few more dollars. I've been opening, we've all had that job. Why are there so many successful corporations and we're all still struggling when every one of us has had that job where we get there early, we stay late, we've trained over half the staff, we've hired the other half, and yet when we go and ask for a raise, we've seen the profits rise year after year, yet when we go and ask for a raise, what do they tell us? There's not enough money. That's what they say every time, right? Well, there's just not in the budget this year. Well, it's just not in the budget this year. Then why do we keep hearing about their record profits year after year after year? So something's not adding up. There's not enough money to pay the people who actually do the work, but you're reporting record profits year after year after year. Well, what's happening is they're enriching the shareholders, they're enriching the owner at the expense of the people who are actually doing the work that produces the company profit. And the only way, so that's the problem. We don't have any money. The villains are greedy corporations and career politicians. Those are the two people perpetuating these problems. So, how have we gotten to this place? How did we get here? Well, it's taken 40 or 50 years. We've had some unprecedented technological changes. And then really, we all fell asleep a little bit. Corporations came in promising better services at lower costs. We wouldn't have to bother our friends or family. And hey, you're going to be getting 5% raise every single year. You can afford this. You can deal with it. But then, so what they do is they come on in and they offer their services with lowered prices. This is what Walmart did. This is what Home Depot did. They come on in, they lower their prices. So they lose money for a couple years. But what are they doing during that couple years? They're getting rid of all the competition because their competition can't afford to lower prices that low. So Walmart and Home Depot and the major grocery stores all lower their prices to the bottom. So we are seeing savings. But then what does it do? It runs out all the local competition. None of us there's no local competition anymore, y'all. We all feel that. We all feel this. There's no mom and pop shops anymore. And if a corporation can force us, what's up, Defiant Daughter, that basically if a corporation is offering bad products, bad services, if they're treating their employees poorly, it used to be that we could go down the street and shop at the local alternative instead. We don't have that anymore. They got rid of it. So they realized that they can treat us however they want, and we don't have recourse. And we used to have laws against this. We had anti-monopoly laws because we understand that competition is good, that freedom of choice is freedom. Let's talk about freedom of choice real quick too, because if freedom of choice only means you have a choice if you have money, those who don't have money don't have a choice, right? And if over 80% of Americans don't have $5,000 in their savings, if they don't have that money to actually choose, then are they really free? Because if you have to have money to make choices, if freedom of choice is freedom, the ability to say no, the ability to choose where you spend your dollars, because this is what it's about. The Walmarts of the world, they underpay their employees so much so that they can only shop at the places with the cheapest products. And where are the places with the cheapest products? The exact same places that are underpaying their employees. We are living in a big company town, y'all. That's all this is. Because if you want to go, and when somebody says, oh, just go get another job. Well, 85% of corporations on the S&P 500 have the same three top shareholders: Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. So when you tell someone, go get another job, they're most likely working for the same boss at a different company. And what they figured out, sorry, this isn't a discussion. We are up here to tell truths. We talk about it every single day. This is part of Blackout the System. If you'd like a free sticker, go ahead and sign up for it. We need to put truth in public. So Jay, after I go through my little spiel, we'll be having a little chat with everybody after that. But for right now, we are going to be going through the problem and the issues and how we fix it. So what they did was they got rid of all the mom and pop shops. There are no other places that can actually compete with the corporations. And if you can't have actual competition, if the corporations are not actually afraid of them, then there is no competition. And guess what? In a capitalistic society, the hallmark of an actual capitalistic society is a free market, freedom of choice. That's where right around now is when people come in and start calling me a communist usually. And that's where I like to point out, you know what would fix this is more competition. Let's put swap meets in every single Walmart parking lot. That's what it should be. Let's allow farmers markets in every single supermarket parking lot. Let's make it so that the Home Depot and Lowe's and Ace have 15 hardware stores all around them. Because that is how we fix this. That is how we change this. But before we can do that, before we can do anything, we need to create the we. We have to build that community, because so many times people come to me right now. Awesome, Morgan, great to have you here. So many times people come to me and go, well, what are we going to do? And I go, well, that's the first step. We have to make the we. Because right now, even if we're on the same side, we argue about where to start, right? And Antonio, yes, consumers as well, but the consumer isn't what actually fuels the billionaires' greed. What actually fuels their greed is our hard work, right? So if greed is the disease, what fuels their greed? Our hard work. So how do we stop fueling their greed? We stop going to work. But we have to rely on them, not more perfect than you know, Morgan, but we have to rely on them for our food, for our housing, for our health care. So, Jay, you are right on top of it. So, we need to build the systems that sustain us while we have a sustained pushback. That's what Blackout the System is all about. We understand that one single boycott, one single pushback isn't going to change the world. But if we keep pushing back, if we keep boycotting, and every time we do it, we bring more and more and more people on our side, that is how we win. Well, right now, and that's where, Morgan, it is not only just about the green thumb. We are working with a company called Farm Fresh 24/7. And they have a bartering where you can barter everything, where it's not only food, where maybe you like to paint. You could say painter, and then somebody else has all this meat, and you trade your painting skills for some of their meat. And we are building this right now. So to give you a quick idea of what's happening is we are going to be having these lives during the week, throughout the week, Monday to Friday. On the weekends, after the second blackout, we are going to have weekend workshops where Morgan and Jay and anybody else that's building things and creating things and wants to be a part of this, we can all come together as a group and say, awesome, we're in this area, let's be a part of this. And then we will have regional captains and state captains so that we can all be on these bartering systems and say, oh, hey, you're near Minnesota, I'm near Minnesota too. Oh, sweet. We should build this farmers market together. And that's what it's going to be. These weekend workshops that we build, they are going to grow and they're going to transform into community groups, local action networks, where it won't just be our farmers market or our flea market. It's going to be our chamber of commerce. It's going to be our new town hall. Shit, that's where we're going to develop the networks that we need to build this new system. And that's what has to happen. Is it's not just about talking about what's wrong, it's about building what is right. But in order to build what is right, we have to come together first. So how to heal, exactly what you're talking about, because it's difficult to do it in a live format, right? So how to heal, exactly what you're doing and you are pushing and saying, is those are the kinds of things we're going to be going through for these weekend workshops. Isn't just saying, hey, do this, do this, do this. It's literally walking people through how to do that. So one of the ways with Farm Fresh is understanding that anybody can be on Farm Fresh. If you bake a pie, you can be on Farm Fresh. If you sand down wood, you can be on Farm Fresh. This is a bartering and trading and skill sharing app where everything comes together. So, Antonio, we have to remember the number one thing is it's not left versus right. It's up versus down. And the people that have believed MAGA, it's essentially, you got to think of it like this. It's people who eat that health bar that's full of peanut butter and chocolate and sweets. And they're just getting fooled by the packaging. It's the people that believe vitamin water is good for you, even though it's packed full of sugar. Because it says vitamin water, so they believe it. So we can't go point fingers at them and be like, oh, you idiots, how dare you believe that? Because that's exactly what happens now. And everybody they plug their ears. So if we go, this side is stupid for believing that, well, then we've lost that whole side. That's exactly what it is. If we do that, we've lost that whole side. And that's what this is all about. So it is about us coming together, understanding that community is the opposite of greed. That's what we have to understand. That greed is the disease. There's not 1,000 different issues going on in our country today. There is one single issue, and that's the greed from the people up top. So it's not left versus right. is up versus down. And that greed is the thing that is driving the division in our country, because this is what happened. Don't you remember all the jokes with the internet comments? And they figured out that the more people fight, the more they engage. Remember when Howard Stern came out, that people realized that, hey, the people who love Howard Stern listen for 1 hour. The people who hate Howard Stern listen for 3 hours. And this is what the whole internet and the billionaires figured out. Antonio, once again, the left has voted for billionaires just as much. When we are in charge, or when the left is in charge, it's the same exact thing. There weren't more houses built under Biden and Obama. In fact, I remember Obama bailing out the Wall Street and screwing over Main Street. So it's so funny how we all do it ourselves. We have sports teams. We have to understand that politics has become sports teams right now. Both parties are two sides of the same coin, and that coin is in a billionaire's pocket. They are both corrupt. They are good cop, bad cop. They are both corrupt. They're just working for the same system. So that's what we have to understand. They're just good cop, bad cop. Because anytime that we point the finger left or right, listen to me, left or right, a billionaire sits back and smiles, because we are doing their work for them when we do that. We have to come together, all of us coming together. So all of us need to have community, because community is unity, and unity is that power. And the way that we get that power is through shared acts and shared language, which equals. So if you want to have any conversations, I am more than welcome to, but we're not going to do it in a public forum. So because we would, this is all about what we need to do together to push forward, for all of us to understand that it's not about any one of us individually, that it's about all of us as a group, and how are we actually going to get out of this. And Antonio, that's exactly what we are asking for. The 3 things that you can do every single day: recognize that the issue is greed, reorganize your life around that ideal, and recruit others. Because that's all that needs to happen, is we need people to recognize that there's not 1,000 different issues, because that's the big problem, is they try to get us to believe that there are so many different problems going on in our country, that there are so many different issues going on in our country, but there's not. There's just one. It's the greed from the people up top. So the first blackout the system, we are still getting the numbers back. If you look on the page, Isaiah did all kinds of stuff that showed it. But to me, it was never about a one-time blackout, right? Because even if it was the biggest blackout ever, well, we're still going back to buying everything the next week, right? We still haven't built the systems that we need to sustain the pushback, to sustain the blackout. And that's what it's really about. It's not just a one-time thing or a 1 week thing. It's about sustained pushback. So we had a video on here earlier that's like, we will do this as many times as we need to, because it's not about a blackout. It's about building a community. So with the blackout, we built the first community. We've got a great community. We have a great base. With this next blackout, we are bringing more and more people in. We are understanding that we need a civic force, a 1,000 movements that all know that this is the moment for us to come together, because it really is. Community is the opposite of greed, and that's what we're fighting against, greed. So how can we actually come together? So that's a great, right there, Maya, great point where it's coming to. How can we actually come together? Well, let's look at what the other side has done. Let's look at what MAGA has done, because if anything, damn, did they come together. Damn, do they have their community. Damn, do they have their shared phrases, right? So number one, that's where it should be free stickers first. Free stickers are the number one thing, is for all of us to push back and understand that when we build this community, people start to see. When you build this community, people start to understand that, look, it's not just me doing this, that we actually have a way for us to push back, and that it's already happening. That's what's going on here. It's already happening. So we've got to come together. And the way that we do that is by changing the narrative. That's the first step, because if we've seen they've hijacked the truth, right? Isn't that the biggest issue in our society? They've hijacked the truth. We can't agree on what facts are anymore. So when you can't agree with what facts are, we've already lost, because they are then able to manipulate and change what is actually real, what is actually factual. That's where we need to stop going after like people's brains and go after their hearts. That's what we need. We need to say, look, they're not thinking rationally. They're not thinking clearly. They are going with what they feel. Essentially, they've already believed propaganda once. We can fight fire with fire. This is exactly what we need to do. We need to understand that it's all of us together. Well, and that's where, 15, it's really sad that you come in here with that kind of stuff, because anytime you point fingers left or right, you're doing the billionaires' bidding. You're playing right into their hands. If you can tell me one way that arguing with other fellow Americans makes it better, then I'm willing to listen. But I know for a fact that if you and I sat down and actually tried to fix this stuff, that we'd probably be able to. Because the only reason that these problems continue to be perpetuated is because the people up top make money off of it, right? So, and if actual, regular, hardworking Americans were in charge, we would be able to come to some kind of a solution. And if only that, if the billionaires weren't taking all of the money, if we weren't spending all of our money on things that don't matter, we'd have more to fix these problems. And that's the big issue, is that we treat it like a game. We don't understand that left versus right is just an illusion to keep us all broke. That's what it's about. It's just an illusion to keep us all broke. So if we can actually come together and unify and get on the same page, it's not a matter of if we'll win, it's how quickly and by how much. Yep, and they absolutely keep us all broke, because if they keep us broke, we'll be living in fear of financial ruin. We'll be one step away from being homeless, one step away. And so then what we need to do, or then what happens is we live in fear because we are so close. I know, Ellen, I don't even, golly day, this sun, because we are so close to being broke that they keep us one step from financial ruin. And what do they call that? They come up with these cute little names for it so that we're not afraid. Paycheck to paycheck. It's so funny. Because if we're living paycheck to paycheck, we all make it sounds good, it sounds regular, but really is we're one step away from financial ruin. And so if we're that afraid and we're living in fear, we're going to be easy to divide, right, y'all? That's literally the problem with our country. They keep us broke, so we're living in fear, and they make it easy to divide. That's all that's going on. And absolutely, we are absolutely slaves to the system, that we can go ahead and Nova, that wasn't my choice. So I am just trying to fill in for Isaiah when we need somebody to help keep the momentum going. So it's through the shared acts and shared language equals shared power. And the way that we have the shared language is it's not left versus right. It is up versus down. That greed is the disease, that everything else is just a symptom. And it's understanding that through shared language and shared acts, I mean, literally look at MAGA. So they have their shared language. We know that the MAGA, the liberals, all this kind of stuff. Then how else do they build their community? They all wear the same stuff. And we're not saying we want to be like them. We're saying this is how you incite a culture shift, because that's what's happened over the past decade. We've all felt the culture shift that has happened in our country, and it happened in the exact same way that you fix it. That's what it really comes down to, is you understand that the way that we got here was because of human nature. Number one, it's greed. And then, Rachel, that's what it really comes down to, because this movement would put more money in everybody's pockets. And that's where they have been. So what's happened is they have been taken down the path of fear to anger to hate. So a couple years ago, everybody was looking around and they were like, damn, we don't have any jobs. Damn, Wall Street just got bailed out again. We need somebody to be pissed at. So we looked around. We tried getting pissed at the politicians, but we realized that the politicians don't have any power anymore. So we started getting a little bit mad at the billionaires. That's what Bernie was all about, right? We got a little bit mad at the billionaires, but then the billionaires came in and won again, because they control the narrative, they control the media, they control everything. My biggest point about all this is, if you were in a country where somebody tried to overthrow the government, do you think that if the corporations weren't only looking out for their bottom line, that they would allow that person to have airtime again? That's the main thing that you can see. The only reason that we are in this situation is because private corporations decided to platform, because division makes them money. And that's what we saw through the newspaper comments section for decades now, is they go, oh, well, we make more money on division. We get more engagement through division. I keep saying newspaper comment section, social media comments. We make more money through division than we do through unity. So we are going to promote division. And that's what we need to do. We have to understand that this is the main issue in this country. That there are other problems, yes, that we've got to put out the other fires, but let's focus on the people with the flamethrowers. That is the very first thing. And so what we need to do is we need to understand that greed is the main issue, that all that really happened is that the rich people in society said, man, I want to get richer. They started giving in to their own human nature. And they said, I need more money. I need more money. And so they got rid of the guardrails that said, if you are screwing people over, Drain the Swamp would be getting rid of the career politicians, would it not? Would it be getting rid of the people that hurt us? Just explain if billionaires and the... So here's the funny part. Here's where we go. Ready, broski? Who controls all the jobs? Billionaires and corporations. Who controls the media? Billionaires and corporations. Who controls the political process? Billionaires and corporations. Who's broski mad at? Immigrants and other people that think differently. Because that's really the problem, right? And then when you say drain the swamp, but if it's rich people, it's rich people, it's rich people, then why does he have 8 billionaires in his cabinet? So we just went through that it was the ultra wealthy that are the problem, that they are taking more than their fair share. They are making it so their employees can't afford housing or healthcare. Then those employees who can't afford housing or healthcare, even though the company they work for makes billions in profit, then has to go on public assistance, which all of us pay for. So our taxes are higher so billionaires can stuff their pockets. And then the people that are paying more taxes come in and defend them. Now, that's not logical. That is not factual. They are going off of their feelings. They are going off of what feels right. I don't know what you're saying there, nurse. But no, if anybody in our military has to go on any kind of assistance, that isn't correct. We should absolutely. It's the people that, do the work should get their fair share of the reward. And everybody's fair share is enough for food and enough for housing. So it is absolutely true. And in fact, it shouldn't even be fair share. It's Everyone should have access to food and housing because that is the smart way to run a society. Because just like that, if you are able to build a company where you provide your employees with enough money for food and housing, that it's a good for everything, or good for everyone, because then your employees are happier. Your employees are able to own housing, own healthcare. They're able to start a family. Like if you want to be in business for like 100 years, don't you want your employees to have children that grow up with security, right? That's what this is all about. And I'm going to get going here in a minute, but I'm going to leave this one little thought is that there you go, time to live. What I like to say it is like this: what billionaires bring to the table is money. That's it. But if what we bring to the table is the ability to grow and expand beyond what one person can do. So it's like Jeff Bezos. He can't deliver all those packages himself. So he has to rely on other people. So what Bezos brought to the table was a little bit of money. But what if Bezos actually wanted to do the work? He literally has to hire tens of thousands of people. So who needs who more? Because yeah, before the internet, before this technology, it was hard to find that amount of money. Now we can just pool our money together and we have enough worker-owned businesses, right? Employee-owned companies. And that's exactly what this is. So now the billionaires are understanding, oh shit, they need us, or we need them more than they need us. So let's make sure to put out all the media, all the movies, all the music that says greed is good, that if you tax the elites, you will have nothing and you'll be happy with it. And that's really where we are right now, is that the same way that we tell billionaires, oh, you're rich because you're so smart, we tell 18, 19, and 20-year-olds that they should have worked harder, that they should have gotten a better education. But why is it that zip code is one of the biggest determinants of whether you're going to be successful or not in America? Because zip code determines what kind of school you go to, what house, how much your house was worth that you were born into, neither of which you have any control over. Kids don't have any control over what school they go to, over what economy they're born into. Yet by the time they turn 18, if they can't find a job, then we say, you need to get more skills. If they can't find a place to work, they say, you need to move. But it was the public good that created it, or the public bad that made that situation in the first place, where they wouldn't be able to have the skills that somebody else received using the same system, but they were in a different zip code, a different area, because we value our education based off of how expensive the homes are. So if that isn't a way to increase the gap between the haves and the have-nots, I don't know what is. The less expensive your home is, the worse of an education you get. And then when that person is 20 years old and they don't have any skills, we blame them. That's what's so insane. That's what's so insane. We base education off of how expensive your house is. That child can't decide that. That child doesn't choose that. But then as soon as that child turns 18, 19, 20 years old, we blame it on them. Yeah, Farm Fresh 24/7. There's absolutely an app. And what we need to do is everybody get on there. Everybody start offering your goods, your services, because it's building things like Farm Fresh 24/7 with the bartering and all this kind of stuff that is actually going to change our country. It's got to be us coming together, building that community face to face too, y'all. I know it's fun on here, but we got to get out there. So, because we have to speak the same language. No, I have not seen those yet, Sylvia. And, but yeah, when we say we're not just talking about it, we're being about it, or we're not just talking about what's wrong, we're building what's right. It's the people like Farm Fresh 24/7, and even their parent company is called Collectively Sustainable. Go check it out, collectivelysustainable.com. They are absolutely incredible. I know. Well, that's what they've really got time to live, is that they have a monopoly on the truth right now. That's what's so crazy, is that we can't agree on what is and isn't a lie. And if we can't agree on what is and isn't a lie, they've already won. I was on Josh Lafazan's live earlier today, and somebody was talking about the smug that we see across this administration, that smug face. And to me, it looks like when somebody wins at poker and they pull one over on somebody else. They get this little, oh yeah, I got it. Because it's all a game to them. That's exactly what it is. It's all a game to them. And then the more and more frustrated we get, the funnier they think it is. So we have to understand that we're not just having an argument here. We're not just trying to convince somebody. We're planting seeds because they are so far gone. The good thing about when somebody is brainwashed, that they only have a certain number of set responses. That's what this is all about. When somebody is brainwashed, they only have a certain number of set responses that they can give to you. So we just have to learn those responses. We have to understand that it's all of us needing to realize that they've played us off of our differences for too long, and we ain't going to play that game anymore. And so we've got to come together and say, look, we don't have to be perfect, but we do need to realize that we are arguing over the color of the walls while the entire foundation is crumbling. But Sylviane, that's exactly what we want, right? That's exactly what we want. As many conservatives as possible. So when somebody is realizing that they're wrong, do you go, ha ha, you idiot, you're stupid? No, we've got to welcome them with open arms. That it's all right. Look, as long as we're together now, I'm just so glad that we're Americans again, that we don't have to talk about this. This is what we need. This is what we need. Bring them in, give them a hug. This is what is absolutely is happening. Yeah, and that's where the purple power is great, because it's not left or right. It's not red or blue. It's purple. It's us as Americans that need to come together to understand that greed is the disease. So awesome, y'all. Well, I'm going to get rolling here. Everybody have a great rest of the Sunday, and we will talk to you all soon. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.